Hello beautiful beings, welcome to today's video where we talk about the power of compound interest. You know, one of the reasons why the rich keeps getting richer is because they know and understand one secret, which is compound interest. They even call it the eighth wonder of the world, which is attributed to Albert Einstein. And the saying goes that he who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. So basically, when you understand and you know about compound interest, you earn from it. But when you do not, then you pay that compound interest. So compound interest is simple yet powerful. Once you know and understand how it works, then you are able to really maximize your finances. So let's break it down. When it comes to interest, you have two types of interest. You have simple interest and you have compound interest. With simple interest, you are earning interest which is calculated on your principal amount that you have invested. While with compound interest, your interest is calculated on the principal amount plus interest that you have earned before. So it's not just your original investment amount, but also the interest that you have earned on that amount before. So each time new interest is added, it's on a new amount that is different from your principal amount. Think about compound interest as a snowball. When you throw a snowball, it starts off as small. Then it keeps picking up as it goes. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So that is how basically compound interest works. You start with a small amount, and as if you roll it through getting interest, it becomes bigger. Then the next interest is also on top of that one, and the next interest, and then the next interest. In the end, you have a larger amount that has grown through that process. The reason why one would opt for compound interest instead of simple interest is really because with compound interest, there is no cap on how much growth you are going to get. As long as you remain invested and you have time, your money will keep growing itself. But with simple interest, unfortunately, you are only looking at a linear growth where everything is based just on the principal amount. For example, let's say you start with $1,000 that you are investing. Let's say you are investing in an exchange traded fund, maybe in a total world exchange traded fund. Then you are starting with your principal amount, which is $1,000. And if we are looking at least 5% interest per year, on the first year, you are earning 5% on top of your $1,000. And that 5% is a $50. Then now your total becomes the $1,000, the initial amount, plus the 50, which is $1,050. So when you start the next year, which is year 2, then you are starting at an amount of $1,050. If you add now the 5% of year 2, then you are looking at a $52.5. And when you add that $52.5 on top of the initial amount, which is $1,050, then now your new total is $1,102.50. So for year 2, at the end of year 2, you now have $1,102.50. And this is the amount you are starting off in the next year, which is year 3. So in year 3, your amount you are starting with, where you will earn interest, is the $1,102.50, and 5% of that is a $55.13. And once you have added that $55.13 on the amount you started off year 3, now at the end of year 3, you have $1,157.63. So your money grows on top of your principal amount plus the interest that you have already earned. So when you are in year 2, you are looking at your principal amount you started off with in year 1, plus the interest you earned in year 1. Then that is what you are starting off with year 2. Then you earn your interest in year 2, that when you are starting year 3, you are now starting on interest that have grown over 2 years. That is what you are starting with. And when you add the interest for that third year, then you are much further along, as you see in that calculation. So basically, with compound interest, each year your money is growing on top of your initial amount that you invested, plus any interest that you have earned before that. The biggest thing when it comes to compound interest is actually time. The more time you have invested and having your money earning interest on top of that interest, interest, the more you are able to grow your money from small amounts to really big amounts. It looks simple when you look at it, but as the years are going by where you are getting interest every year, your money is growing quite exponentially, and in the end, let's say for example by the time you are retiring, you have quite a sizable nest egg for yourself that you can use in your retirement, or which is there as part of your wealth building. That is why in my previous videos I have said that the younger you are, the better actually, because when you start young, it means you have more years for your money to be in the market. So it's growing from the time you are starting up to the time that you really need to use that money. And for instance, if you are investing for your retirement and you are starting in your early 20s, by the time you reach your retirement age, you really have a good amount of money that you have put aside, because compound interest has worked for you through the 20 years or 25 or 30 years on which your investment has been in the market and earning interest. When it comes to investments, one can also look at the rule of 72, and with the rule of 72 we are saying it's how you figure out how long it will take you, or how many years it will take you for you to double your investment. So you take 72 and you divide it by the percentage of which you are getting as interest on your money. For example, if you look at a money market account, most of the money market accounts are between 7 to 8%. Let's say you put your money in a money market account which is giving you 8% per annum. If you divide 72 by 8%, you are getting 9. So 9 is the number of years that it will take you to double your money where you are getting 8% in interest. It does not matter the amount. It can be 100, it can be 1,000,000, but you are getting 8%, and for you to double that 100 or to double that 1,000,000, it will take you 9 years to do that. And if you are getting less in interest, let me say you are getting a 6%, then you are looking at more years, which is like 12 years. It will take you 12 years to double that investment. So the higher the interest, the better for you, and the shorter time or shorter period it takes for you to double your investment. And this is another way of seeing how time really affects our investments, because here it's the time that is doing the work. The more time you have invested, the better you are able to get out in terms of your returns. And the higher interest you are earning on your money, the faster you are able to double your money, or the faster you are able to grow your investments to those big numbers that you want. Now that we know what compound interest is and how it works, and we also now know the rule of 72, how do we maximize now our finances in order to really earn in terms of compound interest? The first thing here is that you start early. Like I have said before, the earlier you start, the better. The more years you have where your money is invested and it's earning interest, the better, because at the end, then you have more money because your money has grown over time. Even if you are starting with a small amount, just start as early as possible. Even if you are not starting in your early 20s like some people have managed to start, you can start at any age. The faster or the earlier you can, the better. It does not mean if you are in your 40s and you haven't started, you are late. No, you are not late. You can still start. There is still a whole lot of years ahead of you where your money can grow. If we go back to our example of $1,000 invested, if you compound that $1,000 for 10 years and you are maybe looking at a 10% interest, you are looking at having over $2,500 within 10 years. Then if you compound that over 30 years, then you have over $17,000 that you have gotten out of that 1,000. So that is really how the power of compound interest works. The earlier and the more time you have, the better for you. The second thing that you want to do is to remain consistent. When it comes to investments, consistency is your best friend. Don't put in money and then stop. Continue investing. Even if you are not able to invest at the exact same amount every month or every year, keep that momentum, keep going, keep putting in something. Whatever you are able to put in the market, that will still grow and it will give you good returns. So don't be discouraged that maybe you only have a 500 that you are able to put aside every month. That 500 is better than zero. It's better than not having anything. And in the end, as the years goes by, you will really be able to see the difference that money has made in terms of its growth. So it would have been compounded, and you really see that the money has grown. The third thing you want to do is to choose higher compounding rates. And here you are looking at making investments in asset classes like your stocks, your mutual funds, your index funds. And because this will beat the savings accounts. So the market is the best place for your money to really compound. And you want to make sure that you are doing your research and you are managing your risk. So if you are a person whose risk appetite allows for individual stocks, then you can be invested in individual stocks. But if you are a person who is not comfortable with the fluctuations of individual stocks, then you can look into your ETFs and into your index funds. The fourth point in maximizing our earnings in terms of compound interest is to look at investments that compound often, or the type of accounts that allow our money to compound often. For example, you have some types of investments or some types of accounts where the money compounds annually. You have those that are compounding quarterly. You have those compounding monthly. And you also have those that are compounding daily. If you are able to find one that compounds daily, go for it. So the quicker you are able to get your interest on, the better. Compound interest will not work, or your money will not grow if you are withdrawing the earnings that you are making. So you have to make sure that your money is reinvested so that it's able to grow on top of that larger amount. But if you are withdrawing every time you are getting interest, that means that then you are just getting simple interest. You are no longer getting compound interest. So make sure you give your money time to remain in that investment, for example, in your ETFs or your index funds, for as many years as possible where you are not disturbing that money, and maybe only start withdrawing from it much later on when the money has really had time to grow. The sixth thing is to avoid unnecessary withdrawals. I've touched on this a bit in the previous point, but here we are saying when you are investing for the long term, for compound interest or for compound growth, you do not want to be touching this money where you are withdrawing from your investments. And that brings in the importance of having an emergency fund and being able to save for larger purchases and some of the goals that you are trying to achieve in your life. Because if you are able to save for that separately, then you do not need to worry that when you want to buy a car and you need a 30% deposit or whatever amount deposit you want, you now have to sell off your investments to draw money to go and handle that. So make sure that you have your emergency fund and you are saving for your larger purchases so that you do not need to withdraw from your investments early. The money is supposed to remain invested and so that you can benefit from that compound growth. And the seventh thing that you can do is to look at tax-advantaged accounts. It is so much better if your investments are in tax-advantaged accounts compared to discretionary accounts. Because here, whatever growth you have on your investments, it grows tax-free. There is no tax on that growth. So if you have access in your country or in your area, if you have access to some sort of tax-free accounts, make sure you are utilizing that and you maximize on their benefit, because this helps you even better because then you don't need to pay tax on your compounded money. In Namibia, for example, FNB and Nampost have tax-advantaged accounts. You can find out from them which accounts are those and what are the benefits and all the information about those accounts. And this is not sponsored, by the way. In South Africa, most of the providers allows you to open a tax-free savings account. That can be with an investment platform or it can be with a bank, and then you can choose what investments goes in there. But you have that option in South Africa. In the US, you can look at your IRA, you can look at your 401k, 401k. Canada also has an option for tax-free savings account. And yes, the name says savings account, but these are actually investment accounts. So those are some of the tax-advantaged accounts that you can have a look at. See what is available in your country, see what is available in your area, and you do your research and you can decide where you want to put your money so that you can really maximize not only on the compound growth, but to make sure that the money that you have gotten out of that remains tax-free. So we spoke about the difference between simple and compound interest. We have looked at how compound interest works, and we have also looked at different ways we can maximize on the benefit of compound interest. And if you have found value in this video, please do leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to share the video with your loved ones, be it your friends, be it your family. And I'll see you in the next video.